Let's turn the mics on. And what's up? We're back, everybody. And my audio is all wonky.
You're all over the place, yeah.
Well, I was halfway on the right ear, but not on the left ear. It was weird. I fixed it. Probably, maybe. Who knows? Someone out there will probably tell me. Anyway. So, I'm Drew Tillman, and I am here, and I'm happy because we're done with this. And I am joined by...
I'm Valonda, who is ecstatic that we have hit the end of this series. I meant to go online and figure out what community service last 10 weeks, what crimes are associated, so we can avoid this next time. But I ended up talking to you before, so that didn't happen.
It's fine. We can look later. We can tweet it. We can tweet it out and let everyone know what's happening.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's going to be so good.
So, first impressions, Drew.
First impressions, honestly, I watched this, and I'm going to let everyone in on the secret. I watched it literally 20 minutes before we started. The ending credits were 20 minutes before we started. And I didn't hate it, but also it was not good.
Yeah, I also, spoiler alert, I didn't, I think I must have finished watching it just as you started, because I finished about an hour and a half before we came on there.
Oh, yay.
Yeah, it was mostly because I wanted to avoid having to watch it. I have mixed feelings. I'm not going to say it's terrible. No, I'm going to rephrase that. It's terrible, but it has some good points about it.
All right, here's my big thought. I didn't absolutely hate everything I saw, but I also I still found it very hard to care about anything I saw.
Yeah, I think it's because we're so tainted by the rest of the series.
I think so.
Yeah. So I tried to be positive. I put down the very first note is attempt to be positive about this, Volley. Give it a go. That note got very deleted very quickly as things rapidly went downhill.
Yeah, it was... All right. So going a little more in-depth into it, the pacing wasn't terrible, but I struggled to, once again, like the beginning of the show, struggled to care about anything that was happening.
Yeah.
Because after last episode where they proved they are not going to put any of the main characters in danger, I knew nothing bad was going to happen.
There's no, like, open is like they actually managed to ramp up like the risk factors, and then it's like there are so many like risks and danger going on. It's like they won't kill all of them all at once, and it'll be the person you least expect if they do.
Yep.
And yeah, and then the things happen, and I was like,
things happen.
All right, let's start with our favorite thing. This new segment at the very end of the series called Credit Watch.
That's the thing we're doing now?
Oh, it is for this series. So
Okay.
Credit Watch, you have to go to the right place at the right time, apparently. All the moons must align in like wherever the hell they call this place for there to be a credit sequence, because by Jove, there was a full-length credit sequence at the top of the episode.
Yeah, nothing
There's
before.
no preamble.
And it had the great music, and it was so good. Nothing before the credits this time. It was, honestly, I was shocked by it.
I was so shocked I didn't hit the skip intro button in time.
Honestly, this is the only time I've seen the skip intro button on Lost in Space.
Oh, really? I'm pretty sure I have seen it.
Have you? Because every time before, now granted, I was also watching the whole thing regardless,
Yes.
but I feel like because where they put the credits, Netflix was just like, I don't know what to do with this. Your credits are like halfway through and then not there, and then sometimes it's over here. Yeah, fuck it. Watch them or don't. I'm not dealing with it.
Yeah, I don't care anymore. There was genuinely a skip intro scene, but I was so stunned by the fact it was there that I was like, oh, and then I moved my mouse and it was gone. I'm like, do you know what? I can't bother trying to skip forward. I'm just going to deal with it, and I will try and enjoy the credit sequence. So what I did enjoying the credit sequence was booting my notes. So I missed it. Shame. So that was Credit Watch. Thank you for this very temporary segment.
Thank you. It's a segment within a segment, and we told you that there were credits
for
the third time in Lost in Space.
Yeah, just genuinely, what the fuck? I'm like, do you know, at this point, I'm not even surprised.
No, not really. So shall we review scene by scene now?
All right. Let's hit it up at the top of this episode, other than credit watch. I believe we see Will watching through some of his old home movies.
Yes, we do. He's sitting on the ramp of the Jupiter watching his home movies on the little camera he was carrying.
Yep, which appeared twice, I think.
It did. It appeared the 2 times he used it in like the first or second episode, and then now. And that was it.
Yeah, that's the only time this thing has appeared.
Oh, wait, no, because it's 3 times. Because there was also the episode where the robot drew a picture.
Oh, right, yeah.
So that was like episode 4. So like episode 1, episode 4, and episode 10.
Yeah, so we get this this nice little kind of like, oh, it's adorable. He's looking through pictures of his friends. Isn't that cute? Isn't that sweet? And that, I think, is that scene. It's simply just there to do things at the end of the episode.
Oh yeah, it's the what happened last time to get you back on track in case you forgot.
I think
about the stuff that happened.
It was a much subtler form that they have ever gone through before. It's so subtly done. It's like, oh, that's kind of sweet. You lose it behind that. Oh, that's he's sad and remorseful because his friend's dead and he saw the robot head and he's looking back at pictures of his friend. Oh, I know what they're doing. It's like someone's hired that writer from episode 6.
Oh, wait a second. But then, oh my god. As soon as you get that, because that's what I love. Like, as soon as you get that point, there are no other videos, which means Will recorded exactly 3 videos in the course of being trapped on this planet for a week.
Yes.
Penny walks up and she's like, "Hey, we got work to do. Let's go." Immediately puts him to work getting their Jupiter ready to leave.
Yeah, I think they've discussion that they've snuck off of the Watanabe's Jupiter, and they're like, they're going to be pissed, but hey, we're here now and we're going to stay with family because family stays together.
Robinsons.
Yeah.
Like, all right.
it was a little bit of that, but they do tend to play that in this episode. They have played it kind of subtly until the very end.
Yeah.
I will get into when we get there.
Oh, it's a thing you're gonna want to all stick around for the end.
Yeah, you guys, I feel like this episode may run a little longer than normal because we have so much to vent.
Oh, there's a lot.
There's going to be so much. So yeah, they do this bit, and it's nice and kind of subtly done. Like, it's just kind of, again, I just feel like they got the writer in to do the episode for this, and he clearly had like, okay, the rest of this is trash fire. Let's try 6 and 10. We've got this.
You know, while you talk about it, I'm gonna go look up to find out who wrote episode 6.
Okay, that's a good thing, because I believe once they start working, and they set themselves to work, we hear the radio beep. I was like, oh, it's Dad. And then they cut to the dad. And we found out how. And this, I was shocked at actually how good the writing was for this bit. Because we flash out and we see Don and we see the dad, who are in a portion of the wrecked Jupiter that they were flying out in. Yeah, that's right.
Yep.
And they're in this little corridor. It's literally just like, we've taken a corridor, we've cross-sectioned it, there's wires hanging out, everything, and it's the 2 of them in their spacesuits, and they are discussing how they got to this state. It's like, it was a 50-50 chance. We could have gone left after the command, we could have gone right after the command, and 50-50 are normally pretty good odds, so says Don. And they explain how they get to where they are in a genuinely good set of of dialogue. They drop it without it being like, we survived because we have air, wink, wink. They work it so naturally into the conversation. I was like, fucking well played, man.
Yeah.
All right, Drew, you have expression face.
I do have expression face because so episode 4 was written by Matt Sazma and Burke Sharpless. You want to guess what episode 10 was written? Who that was written by?
Episode 10, same guys.
Yeah, same guys.
Ah,
the same guys wrote the best episode, and I'm going to say episode 10 was like the second best episode. But episode 6, hands down, best episode.
Yeah.
At least 10 never totally fell off its pacing. It got a little weird, but which when I looked at it, I commented on this to whoever was sitting next to. It's one of the shortest episodes this season.
Yeah.
It's the wrap up, and it's one of the shortest. I think the shortest is actually like 49 minutes, and this one's 51. Like, this is the wrap up.
There's like our good old friend, the Doom Timer returns, and they were like, it's 88 minutes, and I literally paused it to check it wasn't 88 minutes. I'm like, please don't do this to us. And I still went like 40 minutes after, like, holy crap, Ola, this is awesome. Yeah, I genuinely think the pacing on this and the way that most of the dialogue was delivered was natural, and it didn't feel like we're giving a bunch of exposition right now.
They hid
subtly worked in.
They hid their exposition. They hid their, hey, let's recap about what happened. They hid all of these little things in like very natural feeling dialogue and scenes, and it all worked. Like, oh, Will's feeling bad because the robot is dead. He's watching home movies of the robot. Like all these little things. Now there were still some because plot issues that I had, which I'm gonna get into one right now.
Oh,
because we see the dad and Don in space, and they're floating in this chunk of Jupiter. I'm not sure how. First of all, I don't know how they got in orbit because I'm pretty sure the Jupiter blew up. I don't know, halfway to orbit.
I think they were pretty close to the edge. Like I think
maybe they were.
They only had maybe a couple of seconds left, and they only had like one or two major decisions left.
That doesn't matter.
Explosion propelled them into space. I'm genuinely kind of happy to overlook exactly how they got into space.
I mean, that's fair.
Because they deal with it so well.
I won't make them explain, but they're floating there, and Don's fucking around with some wires and whatnot because, he's fucking around with the wires because they're gonna cause the little bit of jet fuel or rocket fuel they have left to ignite and create pretty much just like a beacon.
Yeah, just a hotspot.
Yeah, so everyone, and then they're going to communicate that with the ground, which we finally found out how his dad's communicating. He has hooked up his little wrist thing.
Communicator,
yeah, there we go. To a bunch of random wires in a random chunk of the Jupiter that has no power. So, whatever. I'm not even going to question it.
Well, let's be honest. They have communication physics, a very unique form of it works when it's told to.
Pretty much.
Yep, so they managed to get like some sort of Morse code between the ground and this little section of ship.
And they say
that was it. That's how they get into space. The father does an unexpected propelling them into space, like jettison. Like the oh shit ripcord and like blow the seat out of the emergency exit kind of style from an airplane, like pull the ripcord.
Okay, the ejector seat.
That's how he explains it, because Don's like, next time you should at least ask the guy before you like emergently like propel him into space. And
okay. Well,
and the father's like, yeah, we're alive.
Yeah, we're alive. I'm glad they got out. But then, while they're standing there and Don's messing with with the wires, it shows a very close up of his eye, and I was like, what the fuck is it showing here? This is a weird shot because I missed it. But a piece of his helmet had flaked off and went into his eye, or the anti-fog.
Yeah.
Coolant or whatever the fuck is in the helmet, and so he's closing his eyes because it hurts, and he's like, I'll try to do it, which leads me to the point I want to say is this is a because plot moment. He has his eyes closed because they hurt and he can't open them because he's got something in them. At no point does he just open his other eye. Like, okay, something is in your eye. You have two eyes, Don. What are you talking about? Use your other eye. God
saw fit to gift you with a spare.
But no, he hangs out in the background while he lets John try to fuck around with a bunch of wires and possibly kill them both.
Yeah, again, this is another because plot moment. Like, because of the way that the particular bit ends for the pair of them, it is a very because plot moment. Like that, there was no need to go through this. It was a very deliberate way in which they wanted to deliver. They were like, we need to deliver some information. We've not developed this character well enough for anyone to care. Oh shit!
Here we go.
Yeah, but it was nice and subtly worked in because you didn't realize what they were doing until the end. I'm like, respect. Like people have learned in this. This is well played.
I still, it's still a reasonable enough information to be like, oh, his eyes hurt, he can't open them. But at no point does he try to use his other eye. And that was, but at first it didn't bother me. Because, you get something in your eye, you want to close both of them. It's like a natural instinct.
Natural, yeah.
But like at a certain point, when I have something in my eye, I'm like, oh, it sucks, but I'll use my other eye for a minute. Because I have to see things. Like, as a human, you're a visually based creature. Like, you need to see.
It's like, also, life and death, yo.
Right? It's like, it's time to suck it up there, Don. Let's go.
Time to suck it up, bro, and let's get on with it. Anyway, so let's leave them floating around in their little tin can in space. And we go back to the ground, and we see that the chariot has arrived back. And
with Maureen and Judy.
Like, yeah, Maureen and Judy jump out and they're like, hey, mummy, we need to tell you things. And they're like, shut the fuck up. As like Dr. Smith, dun dun dun, appears. And they're like, there's 4 of us and one of you is like, no, there are 2 of me. I have the robot. Bam, bam, bam.
Oh,
Yeah, like big reveal. And obviously Will does the like restrain her, nothing happens. Run over to give his mate a hug or a kick or something. And like it just bounces off him, I think.
Just
and
ignores him entirely.
So freaking dumb. It's genuinely one of the hilarious highlights watching this.
Yep.
And they kind of have this like, you know, picking him up, realizing that the robot isn't his friend anymore, and it's sad and unhappy. And I think it's either at this point or a point really soon to this that Dr. Smith actually says something I find really interesting. She says, "Friends don't make friends walk off of a cliff."
She does say that, which you don't know that, first of all.
Drew, I wouldn't make you walk off of a cliff.
Okay, that's fair. I wouldn't make you walk off a cliff either.
Exactly. I mean, if you become a homicidal maniac and you followed my every whim, and to save humanity, I'd probably make you walk off a cliff. But you haven't hit that point yet, so I think we're good.
I mean, there are extenuating circumstances to anything, right?
Yeah. I wouldn't make you walk off a cliff, but there's always like the little like asterisk sign.
Yes. It's
Exactly.
like, you know, I wouldn't eat somebody, but asterisk sign, if you're trapped on an island for 3 days, you eat them.
3 days, that's your limit.
Well, according to that talking initiative, I did, yes.
Oh my god. Okay, fair enough. So yeah, she says this, and that sentence stuck with me because we know going into this that the robot was not going to be friends of Will, wasn't going to follow his commands, and at some point Will would make him break. And the robot will be on his side. I think everyone sees that coming because it's an obvious setup because the robot is supposed to be Will's friend.
Yep.
Again, is written by an 8-year-old. The robot will be his friend at some point.
The robot has to be his friend.
Yeah. But it is that one sentence I can't get over. Like, if extenuating circumstances or not, if you made me walk off a cliff, Drew, we are friends.
You're not friends anymore? We wouldn't be friends anymore? You know, if you could put yourself back together afterwards?
Yeah. Do you know where the line is? Literally the part where my second foot goes off the cliff.
Okay, but here's the thing. How would you feel if you could fall off a cliff, break, and then just put yourself back together in the presence of a strange buzzing noise and be perfectly fine?
I don't know. I guess it kind of depends if we knew that walking off the cliff. Like, if you knew, like, if I throw her off the cliff, she's going to put herself back together, and I knew that, we'd probably do it for a laugh, and in which case walking off a cliff is not the danger sign it used to be. If neither of us knew this, I might have a problem with it. It was just luck, so far as I know, that I could put myself back together.
Maybe. I don't know, because the robot was in 2 pieces when he first showed up. Maybe he knows he can put himself back together with enough time or energy or music.
Or robot or something, yeah.
He was waiting for the beat to drop, you know?
I don't know. It's just... It doesn't feel like he's earned his friendship back.
Not really. The ending really was fucking weird. But we'll get into that. It doesn't matter.
Anyway, I just wanted to bring that up because that was something that I wrote down in my notes. Is like, this is a really key thing for me. I don't know how he's going to earn back his friendship because that's a big thing to get over. It is
a big thing.
That would take some time.
Yeah, he made him walk off a cliff to his seeming doom.
Exactly. So, talking of Doom, this is where the new Doom clock comes in. We have them we get the information back that they're up in space. They're trying to make a little signal, an infrared something for them to pick up. And they all rush off. And Dr. Smith's like, do we really have time for this bullshit? Just leave him. You don't want him anyway. And she's like, no. Well, how long till the Resolute leaves? 88 minutes. And that's the point I hit the pause to check it wasn't 88 minutes worth of episode. And I was pleasantly very happy.
I had to check because I get it. I do get it.
Yeah. At this point, I'm like, oh, fuck this shit. So we have the new Doom timer, the return of their favorite plot device. We go back into space. The guys begin to have the conversation of, I've got something in my eye. I can't see anything. You're going to have to put this together, take this apart and like make this thing happen yourself. And this is the thing that I just personally found irritating. It wasn't anything big. It's just a little inconsistency type thing. Just really annoyed me. So at the end of like this little scene, Don turns to him and says, "There are 4 hexagon bolts. You need to undo them." they're fucking round, man. I stopped, I rewound, they're fucking round. The holes in them aren't even hex holes. I was just like, and if it is hex holes, they're not a bolt. It's a hex head. What the fuck is this? I just got so bad. I'm done.
All right. I mean, I've had little problems, so I can't throw you under the bus for that one.
It just annoyed me. They were round. They're clearly round.
It's a round head. I know what it is.
It's like you need to look for 4 like hex bolts. It's like, are you blind? Oh wait, he is. So I couldn't. I just got annoyed. I'm done. You can carry on.
So after it jumps back from there, the Robinsons are suiting up because they're going to go into space. All the other Jupiters have flown off, by the way.
Yeah.
Because for some unknown reason, instead of just getting on the closest Jupiter and converting the big piles of shit into fuel for that one Jupiter, they all went back to their own Jupiter, spread out across this planet, which just seems stupid to me.
Well, I think all the Jupiters have been brought back to like one area, right? Because they were like really close to each other.
I mean, they're close-ish, but in the scene where they're taking off, they're spread out across miles. Now, granted, they had chariots, and the chariots are cars and whatever. But still, just get on the closest Jupiter, fill with fuel, get the fuck out.
I think the idea is they want to get as many Jupiters back as possible. Because they, in theory, I think they're still thinking that they're going to be going back to like Optimus Prime or some the other place where they come from.
Okay, first of all, Optimus Prime's a Terminator. Transformer.
It's a Transformer.
Oh, God. I was thinking about Terminators earlier and I got... Whatever. Anyway, he's a Transformer.
Whatever the fuck it is. I think it's like Alpha Centauri, whatever the hell it is.
Alpha Centauri.
Yeah, so they're trying to get back to that place.
But they're never going to get back because they don't have warp drives and they're 100 billion miles away.
Yeah, but they do have some sort of weird, ability to travel extreme speeds across space. They've already discussed that in like the previous episode.
They did, but remember in the first couple episodes where Maureen was like, "Hey, if this is us and this is Alpha Centauri, you know, we're within like 15 light years."
They did.
Yeah, they mentioned a number of light years early on, and it is a "fuck you, you're not getting there" number.
Well,
unless they have faster than light travel, they're not getting there.
Okay, fair enough. But you wouldn't leave any of the Jupiters behind if you could get them there.
Okay, that's fair. But when they got the fuel, the Resolute was leaving in, I think it was like 6 hours, and the fuel would take an hour to convert.
Yeah.
And it's like, you're losing more time going back to your personal Jupiter to wait another hour. Like, just fucking go.
If they have the time to do it, like, okay, we may come in with like 20 minutes to spare. It's worth getting that extra Jupiter because extra resource and extra ability to do stuff.
Here's the other thing. Here's my other big thing about this. And they've been talking about this fucking black hole for like, I don't know, 5 episodes. Yeah. And the Resolute's like, we can't stay here. There's a black hole. Just move away from the black hole. You don't have to stay in orbit around the planet. You're in a literal spaceship. Just move away.
Go away.
Here's the planet. Just go over here. Just
and then come back.
There you go. You don't have to follow the planet.
Nope, you can just zoop away just a little bit. Yeah, I don't really know.
It's not even like they're like, well, we can't move because we can't pick up radio signals. It doesn't matter. Even if you were right there, somebody coming up into orbit still has to find your ship. They have to fly around the planet looking for you.
Like, for me, the thing is on it is like they set an arbitrary doom timer. Yeah. Like they arbitrarily set it because like especially like at the end of this episode they discuss how in theory they can go back once the planet cools down again. It's like, oh, then they can just reset and redo a thing. It's like, oh, that means they actually have literally months. They don't have to go now. They can wait to repair that like giant solar dish, communications dish. They can wait for them to get things. They could send someone down to check on them. It's not difficult.
They could have sent a Jupiter down in multiple things and just be like, here's some fuel. Let's pick up these people. First of all, I don't know. You're not going to get to Alpha Centauri at all. You might as well just move away from the black hole and just figure out what you're going to do. You're fucked anyway. Send one of your mini Jupiters down to the planet.
It's like they can send a probe down. Like they must have this shit. I mean, they can't. I just can't. It's bad. It just like it was a completely especially at the end of this episode where it just made it sound completely arbitrary for this like random. We are going to be leaving in like 20 hours or whatever it is. It's just like
really was. It was. It was a pointless thing because even at the beginning I was like, just don't go near the black hole. The black hole's not gonna follow you. It's not a fucking monster. It's where it's at. And
It's not sentient.
no, and if it was a moving black hole, you already know about it. Don't worry about it. It's a stationary spot in space. Just stay away from it. You don't have to go into it. Anyway,
we go to Maureen and Dr. Smith. I believe they have a little tit-a-tat outside, and then they go into the cockpit.
yeah, they're in one of the hallways, and they're like, and Maureen's like, the hub is the safest space on the ship, so you can wait there if you want. And Dr. Smith's like, I go where you go, because
But I don't trust you.
whatever, just I go where you go. So the kids go to the hub and sit down and strap in, and then Smith and Maureen go to the cockpit and strap in.
Yep.
And the robot stands there awkwardly behind them.
Yep.
And then there's a volcano here, by the way, at some point.
Yeah, I have in my notes, it's like they have, like, Dr. Smith is being the perfect, like, villain at the moment. A fantastic way of twisting everything. It's like everything she's saying isn't a lie. It's not a lie. It isn't truth, but it's also not truth.
Yeah.
A fantastic way of manipulating all this information. Like, people came back to do this thing, like strong and independence, your husband, yada, yada. She does an amazing job, like making everything sound self-serving. It's just
she did a very good job of it.
That.
The writing was very, very good.
Spot on for this bit. And then I also noticed this volcano.
I want to mention the volcano because Dr. Smith just goes, where did the volcano come from? And it's just like, all right, I get that maybe not everyone understands volcanoes, but like, you lived on Earth. You probably heard about, one of the many mountains that people thought were just mountains that turned into a volcano at some point. Like, you had to have heard. They're all pretty famous.
Yeah, all those big ones that fuck things over. I think Vesuvius being one.
Yeah, Vesuvius is a pretty big one.
The one in Iceland that I can't pronounce. It might be Eyjafjallajökull, possibly. I don't know. The one that screwed over travel in Europe for like fucking weeks.
I don't know, and to be fair, I can't pronounce any Icelandic names. I have no idea how to even start.
I apologize to every Icelander who's like pulling his hair out of what I've just mentioned.
I see the names and I can't find where to start.
Yeah, we're not saying your language is unspeakable, but
no, I don't have.
It's taking me a while to learn.
I don't have a basis to start with it.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. It's rewarding. It sounds wonderful, but it's very difficult. So they, on my notes on this, like, volcano going off is like, please don't do this. The only cool thing this show has had going for it has been the world building of the planet, and you set it on fire.
Well, they were gonna set it on fire anyway, Valanda.
Yeah, but I don't have to see it.
You don't want to be reminded that it's going to burn?
It was just like, oh, we're going to put it here to remind you the planet is burning. It's like, yeah, but you guys said you had months before this shit happened. And I was just like, why? I mean, literally, it was the only cool thing the show really had going for it. Was its world building, and it just was fun. I'm like, well, good job, slow clap.
Also, her "we have months" thing was great because when she said, I think she said we have weeks or months, and it's like, you could do There's math that can tell you that, Maureen. Like,
yeah.
What do you mean we have weeks, possibly months? You're a fucking physicist. Do the math.
Yeah, she would sit down and work it out eventually. But they all know that they're in the oh shit moment. Let's get off now, sooner rather than later. Yeah. And that's fine. That's brilliant. It was just like randomly setting the world on fire at this point. Like, but yeah, I see why. Cinematic. Like, we need to tell you.
It looks really cool. And also, Maureen's like, it's gonna make the top winds really crazy. And it's like, okay, first of all, stop talking about the top winds. Just stop that. Because when they launch, they don't touch a fucking thing until they're in space. They literally launch. Maureen is sitting there. They're all like, which I love that. They're all making stupid faces. They get into orbit. And then Maureen starts piloting. So what the fuck did John have to pilot for? Like, what is happening?
Well, I think it's because for John, they took everything out. Like, they took all the servos, all the auto stuff out.
See, now here's the thing.
She has all of that stuff in there, so all she has to do is occasionally, oh, we're right at the edge, I'm just gonna gun it. That's it. That's all she does.
That's fine. But here's the thing. They're going up so fast, like with John's thing. They went up so fast, wind is not going to affect them. They're just going to plow through it in seconds. The only thing that made any sense was the engine had to be vented. And as we said, you could have made a machine to do that.
Yep, we could have had one of those little clicker things that go off exactly the right time. That was it. Yeah.
John just had to hang on. Like, what they're saying here is that there's no such thing as wind on Earth when you launch a rocket. Everything's perfectly dead still.
Everything's
just a big
good.
hole opens up and just whee.
Yeah, the hand of God comes down, caresses this rocket, just pulls it gingerly outside into the No, that's not how it works.
No, it's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, I didn't spot how bad that was, but yeah, now you mentioned it.
I did like this scene because they get up there. Maureen's like, okay, I'm going to search for John. Starts clicky clacking on her thing, and then it's like, oh, we don't have insufficient fuel, like the computer tells her. And Smith's like, oh, it's time to abandon John immediately, which I liked. And then for the first time in 10 episodes, everyone, for the first time, somebody plays it cool and hatches a plan without doing the most vaudevillian fucking facial expressions I've ever seen. Oh, yeah! Like, no, Maureen's just like, she just plays it fucking straight and is like, she like dives towards the fucking,
I have a very different take on that.
Okay, wait, did you notice her being stupid?
Whatever game Maureen is playing, she's playing it badly.
Okay,
because
fair.
There are the deliberate, like, oh yeah, everything's fine. Like, it wasn't over the top, but it was like, it's like my first poker play.
All right, maybe I was blown away because for the first time, it wasn't somebody waving their arms and pointing to a neon sign that they're going to betray somebody here.
It's no longer, please step into my closet and I shall hit the door. There wasn't that so much in there. It's more like, oh yeah, can you step back like 3 seconds because there's something just in front of you and it's going to kill you. Oh, but now in the closet. It was more subtly played than before, but I still have like, oh man,
and
really?
But I did like the fact
something, but I don't know what they're doing.
I also like the fact that she dove back towards the planet.
Yeah.
And like at a really steep angle, and the robot, having heard earlier that the hub is the safest place, grabs Dr. Smith and drags her into the hub.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, the kids have realized that they need to bail,
so they run away.
So they run the fuck out, and yeah, like this is like. It wasn't massively telegraphed. Like that moment when she's like, oh yeah, there's nothing wrong with the fuel. We are going to do this and dive. Like that to me was like, oh yeah, she's playing that. But the rest of it is beautifully like dealt with. Like the kids get up and run. They know there's going to be a thing. She drops that little sentence in there for within earshot of
the robot,
who then takes them into the hub. And then she basically shuts all that shit down. And she pulls out the dive. Yep.
It's so good. I mean, she did kind of overplay it, but it was better than previously done.
Oh, yeah.
And I like how she emergency locks the thing, pulls out of the dive, and then goes to taunt Dr. Smith. Oh, we didn't bring up the fact that they get to space, and there's gravity on their spaceship now.
Oh, yeah, that's a big
everybody. Thing. So they're all walking around, which I assume they did because they didn't want to have a bunch of people running around on wires for an hour.
Yeah, possibly, but they had done that in like previous episodes where there are people floating about, and they do have John and Don floating around in space.
True, but
part of this episode, so like wiring the rest of them up, probably not that big a deal.
But I think the reason, I know the reason why there's gravity because it's fairly obvious. There's gravity because Spencer snuck the alien engine that they found in his crash ship back onto the Jupiter, and apparently this engine also creates gravity and also warp and also magic. I don't know. It's
all right. We have to take a moment to talk about this fucking engine. Okay, so hang on. Let's do the taunting and then we do the engine because I think we see the engine just after this because the kid's like, hey, there's some weird shit going on. There's gravity, and they're like, yeah, we know. We see Dr. Smith getting locked into the hub with Spencer, and Dr. Smith like tries to get Spencer to break them out, and we see Maureen come along like, yes, you've fallen into my master plan of being stuck inside a cage that I have designed. And then walks away.
No, she lists all the things that the hub can survive. It can survive an asteroid impact. It can survive sub-zero temperature or absolute zero temperatures. It can survive this and this. And then the robot starts punching the window because it can survive a meteor, yet it's full of glass. So,
yeah,
good job, Maureen.
But props to it, they don't break through the window. They don't break it. Spoiler.
Instead, what happens is Dr. Smith's like, I know there's a way out of here, and just start reading a manual, and then finds... I'm sorry, this show has a real problem with things that are too simple for how complex they should be. Yeah. She eventually does find a way out, and we'll get to that one in a minute. Because I don't want to spoil it, because it happens like 4 times in this episode, and I really want to make fun of all of them in turn.
Oh, okay. All right, so we have like the vaudevillian like laughter stuff, like I've got you stuck inside my cage, break me now, bitch. So they have that conversation, and we go back outside to no, this is the engine. We have to talk about the engine, right?
Yes.
So on the chariot, which they bring back from having rescued the family and the robot and Smith. And we do this kind of like peculiar shot where we go down to the garage and we see the chariot, and then we pan down and we see this kind of like obviously some sort of mechanical thing underneath it, but it's kind of glowing blue. And I immediately have shit. We have Spencer's baby egg under here because it genuinely looks. It has the same aesthetics to Spencer and the same aesthetics to the rest of the ship of Spencer's.
Yep.
But it looks like an egg.
Oh my god, if it's a robot egg, I am done. Like, if that's what happens in season 2, it hatches, I'm out.
Honestly, I thought, oh my god, it's a fucking egg. And I had to talk about this because there are bits in this like happen that later on. This is clearly, like, taking a step, this is clearly the power source. Like, this is very, very, very important. And I think actually, like, earlier, we may have jumped over it because it was a very, very short scene. We see Spencer doing something inside his ship. Yes. And I assumed that he was doing something either to pilot something or learn where things were. I think it's now a case of he was getting the engine egg, the egg in.
I think he was, and not only was he getting the engine egg, I think he was, based on the end, I think he was giving it a program as well.
Yeah.
Because something happens at the end that.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
There's so much we'll get to that in a minute because it all links in. Like this episode is, I'm going to say it, it's well constructed. It's paced. There are things about it I think are technically in a great episode. It's a shame I thought some of it was because plot and generally shit. But we'll get to that.
Yeah, but there were good moments.
Yeah, there were good moments. So we see engine egg, and that's what we assume is creating the gravity and the warp engine and all the other good shit that's going on the ship. So we go back outside into space, and we go back to Don and John, who are talking about how tears will flush out whatever the fuck is in his eye. So they have the most awkward I'm trying to make you cry sequence in the world. It's really so good. But I thought this is when I picked up why it is that he suddenly had something in his eye. They wanted to talk about his backstory. They wanted to talk about his origins. So we learn a little bit about Don, the mysterious Don, the smuggler, the dude who's had no real backstory, or he just is and is reactive to things. And we learn he isn't an orphan but didn't grow up with his parents, I think.
Yeah, he just... it kind of sounded like he just, like, as soon as he was old enough, just left.
Yeah. So we kind of learn about that, and they talk about dying, and that doesn't provoke any sort of tears. And John's like, well, this isn't fucking working. I better keep carrying on. So we learn a little bit about him that way, and then we go straight back to the ship.
We jump right back.
Unreal.
Where Maureen tells Penny and Judy to build a harpoon gun.
Get the harpoon gun.
The harpoon gun.
I almost missed it. I just caught it because I had subtitles on. Was Penny's, we have a harpoon gun?
Yes, I loved that. And then she's like, Will, you come with me? Because their plan is that they will go search for John and Don while Penny and Judy build a harpoon gun to stick out of the front of their ship.
Oh my god.
So good.
So good.
And then when they find them, they start going towards them. They're headed for them so they can literally harpoon them.
Yeah, the idea being they build the harpoon so they can literally harpoon them and bring them in.
And pull them in.
It's so good. I just
and this is where the first of these dumb things that I want to make fun of shows up, because Smith finds the way out while the robots are punching.
No, not quite. We have a way bigger important.
There's something that pops up.
Emotional scene, yeah.
Oh yeah. Never mind. It does cut back over there.
Yeah. So we see the girls going downstairs, and we see Maureen and the boy Will going towards the cockpit and doing whatever it's they're doing in there. And at this point, they begin to have a discussion about the fact that Will wish he'd never saved the robot, and the mum's saying, "Don't be dumb. You were a good master. You're a good person. So, the robot was good. Just because Smith is now in charge of it, it doesn't mean you didn't do the right thing to start with." And he turns around and says, "I failed the test, didn't I?" And his mum, fucking props, in the middle of a disaster, tells him the fucking truth. And I was like, there were so many times when in stories like this, people don't tell people the truth and that leads to problems.
Mm-hmm.
She tells him the truth. I'm like, holy crap, this is, oh, you barely ever see it. And I was so happy.
Yeah, she just straight up was like, hey, I thought you would be good. And also, I did something illegal, which is not bad, which I loved her distinction. He's like, you did something bad. She's like, no, I did something illegal. There's a difference.
Yes, it's nice because I also have that written down as a point, like the difference between morality and the law.
Exactly.
And she's like, it wasn't wrong because you're my kid and you deserve to be here. The tests are incorrect. What I did was illegal, but you should be here.
Yeah.
So it was nice. It's nice to see that. I was just happy that she told him the truth. I'm like, yes. So yeah, it was cool. Sorry, I need to bring it because holy shit, we saw acting. It was like this is acting watch. We saw genuine acting from the pair of them, and it was nice to see. It's like some acting. Maureen has acting, which I thought was great because she's not been great at it so far. It was just good to see. And then we cut to Dr. Smith, who is panicking, but because she's smart
and reading a manual and
because she's smart.
Yeah, yes. She's a quick learner.
It shows that everything she's been learning so far about the things she's picked up about people and learning and finding their ticks and what makes them work because she has studied Maureen, because she knows who she is.
Not only that, but you see her throughout these 10 episodes reading psychology books, like literally intro psychology books. And she starts enacting these things. Like she is a very quick learner. She's just kind of a shitty human being.
yeah. She's honest. She's honest about her will to survive, like her personal will to survive.
Yeah.
And that, when she starts spinning stuff, when it's just her and Maureen in the thing of everything you do, it's that thing is that there's no true selfish act. And it's like, it's interesting that she phrases it along those lines. She's just being honest about who she is. And seeing her actually use the things that she's learned helps her to get out of this fucking cage shit by reading a manual. I'm like, props, because you would have a manual, wouldn't you? There'd be a fucking manual around. Like, props. It's smart thinking.
I want to talk about the manual because she reads the manual and finds the way out of the hub. And the way out of the hub is you walk over to a certain part of the floor, push a button, it opens up, and what do you find to override the manual override on the emergency locks but a little lever. Just boop, and it just opens.
Yep.
Like, it's not any more difficult than that. You would think that Maureen literally locked the doors and did an emergency lock on them, and to open them is you just have to open part of the floor and flip a switch. Like,
I think the idea for that being is that this if the Jupiter crashed and it's just the kids alive, they need to find something easy and simple to get themselves out.
I mean, that's fair,
but
the
same thing.
I feel like there should also be something, and they're manual locks. They're electronic locks for the most part. They're not manual. So if the hub is without power, you're trapped in there anyway. Fuck off. But it should be something more like, oh, you turn the lever and then you have to I don't know, enter a password or something.
Like you turn maybe two things to turn.
Some sort of because it was also obviously designed to hold people within it, not just protect people. Whatever. Anyway, so that's the first time you see something that is a tiny lever that does something really major, but is awkwardly sized and in a weird spot.
Yeah.
Because then we cut back to Don and John, where John is now having an emotional moment where he's talking about how he used to always focus on the things he didn't do. And he's still trying to make Don cry at this point.
Yeah, he's trying to talk about regrets, right?
Yeah, because he's like, do you not regret anything? And Don's like, I don't look back. That's just, what's the point?
I don't look back because that's how you crash. I'm like, yes, that is true.
And John's like, I used to always look back. I used to always notice a birthday card I didn't send or a birthday card I didn't buy. And then he starts talking about how the important things are the days in between the important events. Just the little things in life, being a family, having breakfast together, going to PTA meetings and all that other, the minutia of building a life together.
Yeah. And
that's when and he starts talking about his kids. He talks about Penny and Will and Judy, and that's when Don starts crying.
That's when Don's like, I wish I had a dad like you. I'm like,
so
that's disgusting. It's sweet.
But it gets the nonsense out of Don's eyes so he can save the day by touching two wires together and causing a fire.
Yeah, it was that point I realized, yes, the flake is in the eye solely so we can have some backstory for Don and make him realize that he's missing a family. Because the Robinsons are a family, and he'll be co-opted into that because he's going to be like Judy, whatever the fuck.
Okay,
So
I'm gonna
no.
make a quick aside here and say that Valanda, you have some sort of bug in your room, and I only
I
know
have
because it keeps flying in front of the camera, and it is like a fucking kaiju movie, and it's magical.
fucking
Just
huge. I keep seeing this thing flying around. It's flying all over the place. I've been trying not to look at it flying behind the camera because I have my laptop on my table and it's all over the place. Like, don't look at the fly. Do not draw attention to the fly. It's like,
It's just like, what's up?
sorry.
Oh, it's so good. Oh.
Anyway,
Alright,
so
yeah, where
yes,
were
we get plot device out of Don's eye so that we can have that magical moment and give them some airtime because they haven't had any in the last 2 episodes. Let's be honest.
That's true.
So
They haven't really been, the
Yeah.
the focus for a few episodes. So
They-
let's get them
they-
back in there.
indeed happen, and they're definitely not the focus in this one. So yeah, they have this thing. I don't think I remember what happens next.
Oh, I think what next is they have the harpoon gun put up, and Maureen
Yes.
and Will are watching a little feed as it's like watching the piece of scrap that Don and John are hanging on to come towards them, and it's like, oh, in range, and it starts giving a count, and then Maureen realizes there's no more, like, the banging stopped because the robot's been punching this glass the whole time.
Yeah, Spencer. You just hear this like literally throughout the entire thing, just that rhythmic beat of like Spencer
Yeah,
hitting a
and
thing.
then she
So when it's not
realizes-
there, it's really
Yeah,
obvious.
she's like, oh no. And then she's like, we have to run. Fires the harpoon, even though they're out of range. And she's like, we gotta run. So she and Will take off. And a moment later, Dr. Smith comes into the room. Or she comes out of the hub. And she monologues like an actual literal supervillain.
It's amazing. I had that exactly same note. I'm like, she does something horrible, stands there like a Bond villain, monologuing to self.
She literally does. She's just
It's-
yelling her like evil
it's-
plan.
Yeah, it's just genuinely so funny.
Oh.
And she sends the robot off. She sends Spencer off in one direction.
To go find
And-
them while she goes into the cockpit to see what they were doing.
Yeah, and then she sees the harpoony thing.
Yeah.
And then she's like, there are some evil plans rolling around in my head.
Oh,
And that's the last we see of her
for a long
for
time.
ages. Like, I
But-
genuinely forgot she was around.
I kind of did
how-
too. At the end,
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh yeah, she exists."
Oh, where is she? Where the fuck is she? My notes like, where did she fucking go?
She just vanished for a while.
Yeah.
Um,
Like, genuinely, where the fuck is she?
Oh,
So
there's a moment there between those two beats. There's a moment because we cut to John and Don, and they see the harpoon coming, and it can't reach them, and they're like, "Oh no!" And they're trying to get a hold of Maureen, and then it starts to retract, and John's like, "Oh yeah," and that's when it shows, and then it cuts away to actually one of my favorite scenes in this whole movie or
Yeah.
fucking TV show, which is Will and his mom running from Spencer as he tries to find them, and it's like a lot of like the robot's going down a corridor and the camera's like following and then jumps in front of and goes around a corner, and there's there's Will and Maureen.
yeah. Did you get Alien Isolation vibes off of
Oh
that?
yes, 100%. Like,
Like,
them
Massively.
running away from this like
Yeah.
alien, yeah, like down these corridors, and a lot of like very interesting angles, and they eventually get to the garage where Penny and Judy are. Maureen opens one of the mini containers that are just in there, grabs a couple of helmets, tells the kids to get into the chariot and seal the doors because she's got a dumb plan.
She's got a dumb plan. She only has 2 helmets. She sends them into the air because Spencer is hunting them down at this point. You
Oh yeah,
do like
Spencer's
feel
gonna
that
murder them.
yeah, you feel that like tense, like, oh shit coming down. And the girls get into the chariot and go, where the fuck is Will? And Will is out there like, I'm gonna talk this robot down.
Oh,
I'm
that
gonna
was
make
such a
this
good scene.
robot. It was so-
Good scene because I was like, man, I can't wait for this robot to punch this kid.
oh my god, I was so hoping for it. So
Granted,
we-
it didn't punch Will, but it
Yeah,
was still,
spoiler.
yeah.
the
These are
payoff
all
for it-
spoilers, Valanda.
I know. The payoff for it was pretty good though. So
Oh, it was.
we see Will basically trying to talk the robot down, saying like, "It's me. We're friends. We're still friends. It's okay. You know, you don't have to do a thing. Yada yada yada." And we see like Spencer like basically menacingly go towards him. I think we see his hands like part and
He
go. Well, like,
raises an arm to straight up hammer fist this kid.
I want to note at this point his like snow globe is still blue.
It's still blue. That's right.
Doesn't go fucking evil bullshit. Nothing. He's still blue in this. WWW. We see him lift his arm up. Right. We see him lift his arm up to like doom fist this kid into the ground, like turn him into jam, and we just see smack as this like fucking thing that Will was been riding on to be told is really fucking dangerous. Like, finally, we see what it's actually used for. It's used to beat the fuck out of Spencer. It was
It's
amazing.
made just to fight a robot. It's like in Aliens where you see the like the big loader machine that Ripley gets into. And
Yeah.
you're like, that's gonna get used at some point.
Yep.
You see this thing early on, like, well, that's probably gonna get used at some point, and it does. It's used to punch an alien in the face.
It genuinely smacks him like almost like cartoon styly, like just literally gets smacked across this room. And you see like Maureen turn up with the controls, like, get the fuck away from my kid. I'm like, oh, you're genuinely a hero right now. I will forgive almost everything about that fucking random ass like lifter being in this area for this singular scene. It paid off.
It paid off for it. And then she hits him again, and he falls on the ramp, and she drags Will over to a support beam, and she's like, clip onto there, gives him a helmet. She runs over to her own and opens the door.
Yep, she opens the hatch. And we see like Spencer like going like Hulk mode of like, I'm not gonna be blown out of here, no fucking way, and then he gets hit in the face by a fucking
just whatever's just laying around in there, cracks him in the face, out he goes, and they shut the door. And that's when we jump back to John and Don as they're just like, well, we're gonna die here. Wee.
Yeah.
And then something floats over them, and they're like, what's that? It's an alien spaceship, everyone. Spoiler, I'm gonna just tell you now, it's an alien spaceship. There is another alien spaceship.
Yeah. So we see like this like door. We go back to like inside the garage, and we see this door closing, and it doesn't quite close all the way.
It starts
and we see like dun dun dun, like, oh my god, they didn't actually fall over the edge of a cliff like Dom. We see one arm go at Spencer's like clawy hand. We see another one, and we're like, oh shit, Spencer. And we see more of them, and I'm like, oh my god, how many of these fucking things are coming?
Now, granted,
and we see the alien spaceship like fly past.
Now, granted, we see it's just Spencer and another robot that's in his like murder mode, so 4 arms and all crazy looking.
I love the fact that we have OG Spencer and Spencer
in the same
so
thing.
Good, yeah, like side by side.
This led to a point where I was like, "What?" Because Spencer points at the chariot where Judy and Penny are, and OG Spencer just fucking shoots it with his crazy gun things and knocks it back.
Yeah.
Oh, we missed the thing because when they come in, Maureen like runs at them, which why? Because OG Spencer just backhands her, like, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah,
her helmet cracks open, like there's a little air thing. And then OG Spencer shoots the chariot, which cracks open Will's suit, so he's leaking air.
And it also creates a crack in the window of the chariot.
Yeah. So everyone's leaking air.
Yeah, all 3 of them are losing air. And we see this kind of like, we see like egg engine basically sitting there. And we see like them go over and grab it and pick it up.
And this is the reason why I was like, why did you do that? Because instead of just pushing the chariot, and we know Spencer is strong enough to push the chariot, he pushed a whole fucking rock at one point. Yeah. He shoots it. Like, how is that more effective than just like flipping it and grabbing the egg?
No fucking no. I think at that point, because it's not our Spencer that does this, it's evil Spencer.
Well, yeah, but like you'd think a robot would just be like, well, the most effective way is just flip this thing over. You still could have cracked the window.
Actually, yeah. Also, it's freaking dangerous because you're shooting something near a fucking egg engine. This thing can do warp and gravity. Please don't shoot fucking lasers.
Don't put lasers near it.
I mean, do they actually have to legitimately? They're robots, right? All this shit is programmed. Do they need to put like a triangle warning sticker? Please don't shoot the engine.
This robot needs one of those "Do not stop chainsaw with hands" stickers.
Oh my god, yeah, it was so dumb. So they go over, they grab the egg, and I think Will does something.
No, the OG Spencer's about to leave, and then Spencer just looks at Will and sees like, oh no. The OG Spencer's gonna go kill Will. He walks over and like starts glowing his hands like he's gonna shoot him. And Spencer looks at Will and sees he's leaking air, and he's like so pathetic because that's all Will is really.
Yeah, at this point, like OG Spencer and our Spencer actually have like orange in their
Yes,
snow globes.
they're like red murder Spencers.
Yeah, red murder Spencers. Well, they're kind of orangey. They're not like proper like red,
Okay, that's
like
fair.
woo woo,
But they're
red
not
kind of
blue.
colors. They're not blue because we see this orange like face on Spencer, on our Spencer, and we see it begin to flicker, like literally flicker into blue as he's looking at Will, who is like losing air, sitting on the ground, looking like a pathetic child because he is at this point, like he's very vulnerable, and he sees like the murder bot like 3000 like stalking over, like glowing his hands up, like I'm gonna kill the shit out of this like vulnerable child, and we see Spencer just like crack and break and go, no, fuck this. So we have the obligatory like Spencer OG Spencer fight,
Yeah,
which is
it was a
kind of
pretty
cool.
good fight because Spencer throws OG Spencer away and then melts Will's suit closed. And they have a little touching moment where he's like, friends, Will Robinson. And they get
Yep.
shot in the back. And then we see a fucking rat ass fight between these two where Spencer
it's so good.
melts OG Spencer's face with a heat palm.
And we see like the whatever the fuck is in the snow globe just like pour out like fucking lava. It's amazing. I'm
It's
like,
such a
I
good
love
fight.
this.
The fight with the frog monsters, I was like, well, that's kind of a letdown. Paid off for in this scene where Spencer and another robot just beat the piss out of each other.
And possibly literally in this space, like their hands begin to glow. They grab each other. Like I think Spencer like melts one of the
Rips
arms.
one of his arms off by melting it and throwing it away.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah. He looks back.
he looks back and then just tackles the other one out into space.
Yeah.
Where they float away punching each other.
It's fucking amazing. It's so good. And thus we see them fighting each other.
For
And that was the
eternity
end.
in space.
We have that's the end. That's the last we see in this series
Of
of
Spencer.
Spencer and Murderbot 3000.
Yeah. But we do get to see Maureen laying on the ground and Will running over to her and be like, oh, are you okay? And she puts her finger over the hole that's in her helmet and she's like, are you okay? And he's like, yeah, I'll be fine because, I'm not leaking air. And then Judy and Penny are like, we're going to die because the glass is going to break. And Maureen's like, well, the door can't close. They broke the door.
How rude.
How rude. So Will's like, you know what? There's a crank outside. Now hold on, everybody. When you hear crank, what do you imagine? Tell me what you think of when you hear crank.
When I think crank, right, I literally think like a fucking handle on a wheel that you
Right?
have to turn with like fucking cogs and you hear click, 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 click.
Yep.
That's what I think of as a crank.
Well, that's not
It's
what it is.
old school. But that's clearly not what it is because I'm like, why would they stick like a handle, like a wheel with a fucking handle on the side? That's not aerodynamic.
Not at all.
Get out there.
But before we get out there is my favorite scene because everyone's about to die. The ship's like, hey, yeah, you're all gonna be dead of oxygen loss in like, I don't know, like a minute. Come on, guys. And Will and Maureen have to pause multiple times because Will's like, I'll go close the door outside. First of all, why is the handle outside? I need to know. Why is there not one on the inside? Doesn't matter though. Whatever. And she's like, you can't go outside, Will. And he's like, I have to. And she's like, you can't go outside, Will. And he's like, what's the point of protecting me if I can't protect you? And then just goes into space anyway. Just go into space, Will. It's way more badass.
You just look at your mum and go, peace out. And then you can
then you
leave.
just go into
You don't
space.
fuck about. You just get the fuck out. You're like, you just be a badass and just leave.
Exactly.
But I think they have to have that moment to have
I
that
mean,
establishment. I
They
think.
needed to have that touching moment, but they could have had a touching moment while he was cranking the handle. She could be like, Will, you have to get back in here or whatever.
It's like, no, I'll be fine. Like, yeah, they could have done it in a different way, but I think they handled it well enough in
It-
this.
it
I
was
mean,
fine.
it was, yeah, I mean, that was the moment when, like, I think as, like, Spencer, like, tackles the other robot out, you realize that the three girls are all still in major trouble.
Mhm.
And it's one of them who can do something, and he has to go out into space on his own. He has to do a spacewalk.
This is the redemption of Will, because at the beginning, when he couldn't dive into the water and get the battery,
Yeah.
this is his redemption to doing something dangerous that could get him killed to help his family.
Yeah.
And it's a nice, like, bookend to Will's story. But I just think the pacing, not that it was wrong, because they do it in everything, but the pacing could have been handled. It could have been tightened up a little bit, because
Yeah.
the thing in movies and TV where people are like, we only have a minute to do this, and then they have long, drawn out, like, meaningful conversations. It's like, you had 15 seconds. What are you doing?
Yeah, it's like you can multitask. Multitasking is fine. So yeah, they have this moment, and for me, it was very much. This really is like Will's like get out of jail free, redemption-y, kind of like Mary Sue moment of I have everything. I made the robot turn at the right time. I had the robot help Judy when it was like
I
the
can
only
do
thing going
this.
on. I moved a fucking rock, and I made the robot turn up and destroy the other robot.
And
Which was okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
I do have to say one thing because we kind of jumped it because by accident we see the egg engine roll.
Oh yes, we do. It rolls into
and it
the
is
corner
important
of
I mentioned that.
Yeah.
It rolls into a corridor, and that's the last we see for it for a while.
For
I
a
just
little
need
bit.
to mention because it's going to come up in a minute.
It will.
Anyway, we see Will go out and
He goes
crank.
outside to the crank,
Oh fuck!
which is not a crank, everyone. He pushes a button, part of the panel slides back, and it's again a lever. It's not a crank, it's a lever that he grabs and moves. And he moves it back. Like, he operates it like a crank, but it's a lever.
Yeah, it's clearly lever. It literally just like slides from side to side, like on this like arc. And it's like and reset, and there's like it's literally it's just like a shitty piece of plastic that he moves from side to side.
Yeah. And then he's like, oh, as soon as I get done here, I'll climb up to the back hatch. Everything's going to be okay. Like, I'll just get up to the back hatch. You can let me back in. It's fine. Like, this is... For the amount of tension they want to put here, like, it's not actually that dangerous. The ship's not going anywhere. Nothing's happening.
Yeah, like, they could have played the tension much better in this, because thinking about it, yeah, he has to climb this shitty ladder on the back of a thing with no tether. He's got to go over the top of, like, basically a flat thing and get to the other side. And it's on literally the other side of the goddamn ship. And the girls are like, that's a really long climb. And that's all we get in, like, how dangerous this is. Like, they could have gone... You're crazy. Like, his mum could say you can't do this because there's no tether. That would immediately have built some sort of tension. Anything. Instead, that they wasted the ability to make this like a really meaningful, holy shit, Will is actually going to be in trouble, and build it to the point of holy shit, they're actually building a character death. Because when he basically climbs this, and like the shoulder that got hurt because the other robot basically stops him from climbing over, and he lets go and is basically pushes himself back accidentally from the ship. So he floats out into space with no way of getting back to the ship.
Yep.
And I didn't feel the tension there because, like, oh, there's no build up here.
No, there was no build up. It was
nothing. How the fuck? And then, to be fair, they left it just that perfect amount of time, thinking, oh, maybe he isn't. They've just not built this up very well. And then we just have like the fucking Deus Ex Machina bullshit.
Where the dad literally swoops in like Batman and grabs Will because he's tied the harpoon cable around himself and just like leaps away from the ship and grabs Will, and they get back inside.
It's amazing.
Which pretty much that's like the end of this whole like tense moment, because they get back inside. They don't address Dr. Smith. They don't address anything else. They literally just like, well, the Resolute's gone. What are we gonna do?
So yeah, they have like the Don's inside. They have like a funny little wrap up moment with Don, which is really nice. They have little wrap up moments with the kids, which is really nice. And they have this little like conversation and looking after each other and talking about scars. And the parents go into the cockpit and they're like, "What are we gonna do?" It's like, well, we can crash back into the ship if we manage our supplies long enough.
Yep.
We can crash back into the planet when it cools down a bit, but we have to ration. And the parents are like, this is shitty. This is not good. And I don't know if it's at this point in which Dr. Smith turns back up.
No, because Maureen says something about... John's like, well, we're Robinsons, we all stick together, so whatever. And Maureen's like, we almost weren't all together. And John's like, we wouldn't have been if you hadn't refired that the harpoon. To which Maureen like doesn't say anything and just walks away at a weird moment in the conversation.
Yeah.
To an airlock where they have Dr. Smith locked up.
Yeah.
And
I don't know how this came about. Either she was trying to leave and couldn't manage it, like she was trying to get onto like the alien spaceship that turned up. That's my only thought. Probably not, but she doesn't have a spacesuit and she doesn't have a helmet.
I feel like they put her in there because, all in all, when Dr. Smith's backed in a corner, I don't think she's like a fighter. She's definitely one of those characters who like gets other people to fight for her.
Oh,
so I feel like if they showed up and they're like, "Hey, we're gonna like
smack down,
fight you," she's gonna be like, "No, I'm good. You just want to put me in this room? Cool."
Yeah, for whatever reason, she is in this airlock and it's not explained.
No.
But Maureen basically asks her why she did it, why she saved John. And I think at this point, because we haven't heard that the Resolute is back, right?
No, not at this point.
Yeah, so at this point, either she genuinely is sorry for like having caused them all this pain and maybe she should save John and redemption and all that good shit. I think she's playing them. It's my genuine feel.
I feel like she's playing them because she says she's sorry, and she says it was the right thing to do, and then Maureen gives her this look, and she's like, it's the thing you're supposed to say. And she's like, that's how I survive, is by saying the thing you're supposed to say.
Yes, she's honest in that moment.
Yeah.
But I think I'm like trying to figure out why also she did it, and the only thing I come up with is like, if the Resolute isn't there, the only way she's going to make amends with this family is by saving John.
Probably. I mean, that was honestly probably her thought process.
Yeah.
Because then a moment later, you see the Resolute, because the Resolute has come back, or went away for a little while, and then came, like, just far enough not to be in danger of the black hole, which I don't know why they didn't do that to begin
They
with.
just went out of sensor range, let's be honest.
Yeah.
Because...
And then they come back, and Victor's like, oh, I represent everybody of the colony.
My brain instantly went, nobody voted for you.
Nobody voted for you. And then they're like, well, we can't get to you because we're out of fuel. And he's like, oh, we'll come get you. And that's when the plot device of plot devices, actually, it's not really a plot device.
Egg.
The egg activates. Because they
it fucking hatches, man.
It hatches, and it's got wires and shit all over the Jupiter, headed for the engine room and stuff. And they're like, they lose control of the Jupiter. And then all of a sudden, one of those big portals that you saw the Resolute go through opens up, and the Jupiter just fucking books it.
Yeah,
like,
it goes through, and we see them like go through this like portal thing from kind of from the point of view of the Resolute.
Yep.
Where the Resolute are literally there on their own without the Robinsons. And we're just like, oh, well, we're either about to have two sets of story fucking lines happening, or this is the last we're going to see the Resolute, and fuck you, Victor, laters.
Bye!
All these characters which we have kind of grown to tolerate are stuck on the Resolute on their own. We're like, oh, well, fair enough, see you later. we then go back to the Resolute where we basically see it from the family, and Don are looking out the front. And we see in front of us, like, I want to say binary stars. One's orange and one's blue.
Maybe, they've got to be binary stars, but I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, one's orange and one's blue.
Yeah,
and around it is a big field of
asteroids, debris,
something, planets? And then there's like 5 planets. Something.
Yeah. So basically, to like talk about the stars, like one of them is blue and one of them is orange. I don't know if they're stars or balls of gas. We'll go with that. And they are literally like partially like inside each other. Yeah,
like a Venn diagram.
Yeah, like a Venn diagram. Thank you. That sounds a lot less perverted. So we have like this Venn diagram of stuff going on, which is actually what Spencer drew way back when they were drawing pictures and says danger, which is why they have it at the beginning of this episode, so that you can recall that information and see that thing. So the family are like, what the hell are we doing here? What the hell is that? And then we just have boom, 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 boom. Danger.
Yes, because Will's like, I know what it is. And he pulls it up on his iPad, and he's like, it's danger.
Yeah.
And that's the end of the episode. It literally
and that's the end of the fucking series, man. And I was just like, it's done. Boy.
But there's a second season where I assume they're going to go onto this one of these weird planets, and we're going to find out where Spencer's from and all sorts of stupid stuff. But you know what, Valanda? I don't want to talk about it anymore right now.
Well, yeah, it's either a threat that happened to the alien species, which may also have affected Earth.
Entirely possible, yes.
I don't really know how it is that they got the alien technology from Spencer's species. There are so many open question marks. What the fuck happened to Spencer? Where are they? Why are they at this particular place? What the fuck is that engine egg, man? Where the fuck is Spencer? And the most important question to me, honestly, there is a singular most important question. I'm going to give you like half a second to figure out what my most important question for this entire series is.
Ooh, most important question for the whole series. Who gives a fuck?
Where the fuck is Korma?
Oh, Korma's dead.
It can't be. We don't see a corpse. If you don't see a corpse, it's not dead. Okay, where the fuck is Korma?
I will tell you this. Dr. Smith definitely wouldn't have picked up that chicken. She was holding Judy and Maureen hostage. That chicken was hanging out near the crashed spaceship and is 100% on fire now.
We have fried chicken.
We have fried chicken. Korma's dead, unfortunately.
I'm sorry, I can't believe that. I want to believe that Korma is on the alien spaceship and is happy and healthy. I can't believe that Korma's overlying... overall like story arc. They were MVP for an episode, 2 episodes. They were MVP. Everything they're in, they stole everything in every scene they were in, and then just heartlessly left to one side like nobody cares.
I will
I'm
give
sad.
you that. I hope Korma finds happiness somewhere because
They're gonna come back to the planet, and Corma's gonna be like a fire-breathing chicken to be like Den Vito, like Debbie, what are you doing?
I would love that. I would love that so much. So here's my mild prediction for the next season, which we don't know when it's going to come out. My mild prediction, though, is that engine will turn part of the Robinson's Jupiter into Spencer, if not just literally build Spencer into the Jupiter.
All right, so we need to talk about how amazing this engine egg looked, right? So we cut back to the engine egg and it's begun to sprout like a potato, like all these fucking vines going out all over the place. It's going over the walls, but it's that kind of like same metallic-y black kind of like material, but it has those glowing blue lights in it, and it looks fucking rad. It's like, this place is amazing. It's lit up blue. It's visually very, very distinctive from everything else, and it's very, very clearly Spencer's species. It's whatever the hell this is, and that's why I called it an egg, because it's growing things.
Literally might be an egg.
It might literally be an egg, and that's my concern and possibly a hope. I want it to be a thing. I want it to grow a baby Spencer. I want to see a baby Spencer grow. It's not going to happen, and I'm very sad about this, but one can always hope and
find out. We'll find out in a year, 2 years, whenever they release the second season, and we're forced to come back and watch it.
Oh god,
God. Let's get into the ending stuff here, because we've pretty much run off the line on that, unless we want to complain some more.
No.
I think we hit all the important parts.
Okay.
So
I think we've covered most of it. There's much moaning to be had still.
Pretty much. But I don't know. How would you rate this episode? 1 to 5 light bulbs.
I'm gonna go with a resounding 3.5. I thought it was very well paced. The exposition was pretty well hidden. It loses an entire bulb for the plot devices, the really obvious plot devices. And the trouble is, like, it could have been better. Like, the plot devices were terrible in places and very obvious. The fact that the tension could have been there for Will's potential death and it wasn't, is like, you could have genuinely built that up. Like, his dad saving him could have been so much better. It could have been just way more interesting. Like, Don's story could have been built up way back in the beginning of the series, so we could actually give a fuck about the two of them stuck there. But I'm going to give them the extra half there, so it makes it 3.5 rather than 3, because of Penny's singular line of, I feel like I should have done more harpooning in my life. I just wish she picks up the harpoon gun and puts it together. I'm like, Penny, you don't do much in this episode, but this is the funniest thing. You're the light of this entire series.
Penny is a wonderful go-getter, and she, in the background, does a lot of things.
Yes, Penny is, in her own right, a badass. What about you for this episode?
Honestly, I'd give it a 4. Now, granted, I wasn't watching, like, super closely, but what I watched of this episode, I enjoyed. There were weird plot devices, there were some weird issues, but I genuinely enjoyed this episode the same way I enjoyed episode 6. It was constructed fairly well. It probably should have been a little bit longer, instead of 51 minutes for the literal season finale.
I don't know. I think if they'd made it longer, it would have been padded. Like, they hit everything kind of needed to. It's like they had the time to do everything, they just didn't always hit it.
That's what I mean. Like, if they gave it, like, I don't know, 3 or 4 more minutes, some of those scenes that are, like, supposed to be emotionally investing could have maybe been invested a little bit better. Will's possible death could have been built up a little bit more. So, like, you actually get that tension and that feeling. Not super long, just enough that, like, to give you those breathing moments where the tension can build properly. But all in all, I enjoyed this episode. You know, I'll give it a 4. How would you rate this entire season 1?
2.
2?
I'm not even fucking about. Like, and I have a very strong feeling about this, because episode 1 was interesting. It set up and it was slow. Episode 2 was a good conclusion to that. Like, maybe cut a few things out that could have been half decent, like daytime TV movie. episode 4, 6, and then 10. Actually, I'm just going to go 1 and 2. I'm going to count as a single episode. Episode 4 or 6, which one was actually half decent, and episode 10. If they had those 3 episodes, that's basically the entirety of this series. I was genuinely let down when the Resolute came back, because the idea of the Robinsons being on their own and actually having to survive in a world that has been completely decimated is the idea in my head of what the Robinsons like story is all about. Like actually having to see them do that with absolutely fuck all in the way of backup, which is why I thought episodes 1 and 2 and 3 were kind of interesting, because they have no backup. They are on their own. It's their ingenuity, their familyness. Like that's the whole thing. And the fact that we're now like at the end of it, like we see all the people that we had to like tolerate now completely disappears. Like, well, they needn't bother fucking being here. And now they're in some random ass galaxy without Spencer, which is the whole point of them fucking being there. I'm like, oh man. Just all the shitty episodes have utterly eclipsed and soiled and stained and ruined the episodes that actually are half decent. So that's why I have a 2. I don't want to give anything else. What about you, Drew?
I'm going to give it a 3. Because, again, it's just kind of meh. You could watch episodes 1, 2, and 3, which were an interesting setup. By the way, I just looked. And they're also, all 3 of those are written by the same people who wrote episodes 6 and 10. You could watch episodes 1, 2, and 3, episode 6, and episode 10. You'd get the most interesting things.
Yeah.
And they're written well enough that you would get the backstory without having to deal with the bullshit episodes. You could tell that Will drew in the sand with the robot in episode 10 because they had this little thing. You don't need to watch the beach episode where nothing happens.
Do you know what? It would be interesting to watch. Like, literally give, like, someone who's not seen the series either, those episodes. And get them to watch those and see what happens. Because you discussed it before. It really does feel like they brought it from a network. Like, from a standard network. Mm-hmm. And that's how... there are filler episodes in here.
Yeah, there are.
Clearly filler.
There are filler episodes in 10 episodes. Like, what is this?
Yeah, you don't need to. Maybe you're right. Maybe we should get someone who's not seen the series to watch those episodes.
Just watch those episodes. See what happens.
Yeah. See if they can pick up the story and pick up what's going on.
But here's the thing. With episodes 1, 2, 3, 6, and 10, I'd recommend this to someone, as I said last time, if somebody wanted some run-of-the-mill sci-fi to watch while they're doing something else. I would be willing enough to recommend it after that. Episode 4 and 5, I would warn them, like, get ready to get over that hump because those episodes suck. And then episodes 7, 8, and 9 are kind of middle of the road. No one cares. But the worst 2 are definitely 4 and 5.
Oh god, yeah.
They're so bad.
Matty volunteers as tribute. I hope you've not listened to the rest of our podcast because we've ruined the half-decent episodes.
We have entirely destroyed this entire show.
Yeah.
We tore it apart, but yes, watch those 5 episodes and then tell us if it makes sense.
I think you could pick up enough from context. Like, if you're a little bit clued on, like episode 10 would tell you that their dad, because at the very beginning, they tell you how they get to that situation. They literally tell you, they're like, oh, we were in the thing, we could have gone left, we could have gone right, but you instead injected us into space. That's all you need to know how they got here. Like, exactly. Oh, and they have fuel. Huzzah, they've got fuel. Like, this entire like finale episode tells you everything you need to know between episode 6 and episode 10.
It's it's constructed well. Watch those 5 and then tell us if it all makes sense.
Yeah, because I just think it would. Yeah, I'm kind of curious now. I can't do it.
Well, no,
I'm curious to have experienced it.
Yes, but I would recommend it if somebody just wanted some, background noise sci-fi.
I could recommend it.
Because I've watched shows like that where I'm like, oh, I'm playing, like I'm grinding in Final Fantasy or whatever, and I just want something on.
Noise.
I've watched like bullshit shows that I definitely would not pay attention to. That like for what I'm doing and they're just there and I kind of glance at them occasionally, they're fine. Like they fill the void of silence.
Okay, tick number 1 for, like, we're going to recommend the show based on the idea that you need to have noise in your life. Oh, yeah, this definitely creates noise. Tick on that fucking gold star. But if you're looking for content,
I'll answer.
Unless you are willing to put up with the bullshit episodes, and they are hard episodes to get through.
Oh, they are.
Don't even have it on in the background. But if you want to watch for content, I probably could stretch to a 3, maybe a 3.5 on 1, 2, 3, 5, and 10. Sorry, 6 and 10.
Yeah.
I could probably stretch that far, but it's not something I'd overly recommend because the other episodes have just utterly destroyed it. It's like I'm hoping that they continue to hire the people who wrote those episodes to actually treat it as a Netflix show and not treat it as
They're too networky is the problem.
Yeah.
Those episodes, those 4, 5, 7, 8, and 9 are just they're network shows. Like,
yeah, it's filler. It's trash fire.
yeah, a lot of it's just like, oh, come on.
Yeah, it's just annoying.
But guess what, everybody? Next
We're done.
Friday, we're done with this. Next Friday, you're gonna get to watch a treat because we're gonna review the 1998 Lost in Space movie, which Valanda has never seen, and I have seen, and honestly, is like an hour, and it's pretty enjoyable. It's not a good movie, by the way. I'm gonna go ahead and get that out there.
Oh, spoiler alert! I need to be let down by this already. Okay, fair enough.
When you watch it, you'll know what I mean. But go into it with don't expect anything amazing.
I will expect what I expect from. Yeah, I will go over it with an open mind and a positive attitude.
It's
so
got one of the friends in it.
It's Joey, right? Matt LeBlanc.
I don't know who the fuck it is.
Matt LeBlanc. Yeah, Joey.
I mean, Matt LeBlanc sounds right. I never watched Friends. I never cared for it, and I never will watch Friends. I just know he's on Friends.
Oh yeah, it's not sci-fi. I can't make you watch it.
No.
And it's 10 goddamn series, so that's
Also,
not happening.
If you wanted to make me watch it, you would have 10 series of me literally tearing that entire show to pieces.
Yeah, let's not do that.
No, it's not Lady Hawk bad. It's just like a mid-90s sci-fi movie bad. It's just none of it makes sense. It kind of holds together literally on spit and dreams.
I will prepare to have spit and dreams, but to what decide then?
Here's
so
the thing,
yeah,
though,
next...
it's earnest. It's an earnest bad movie.
Okay, they are trying to be a real movie.
They're trying. It's just
okay. I will reserve judgment when we will see what we can see. We need to see whether Spencer is just as sexy in the old movie because I've not seen it. And I will see. I will give it my best. So yeah, next week is the movie, and I believe we have Bucky with us next week, right?
We have Bucky. Yeah, he's supposed to be here.
I'm excited. I don't know how this is going to work out with 3 of us.
It's going to be interesting. By the way, I had to buy it on Amazon, so I know at least Bucky and I are probably going to have to watch it together.
Oh.
Or Bucky can watch it by himself on my account, and we can figure something out.
We may have to come up with a way into which I can watch this with you guys. We'll have to schedule a time, I think. We'll figure something out.
I think watching movies all together, like when we do the movies, is like probably a great idea.
I agree. Yeah, maybe we should do that. We'll have to try and find a time between the 3 of us over the coming week.
Yeah. I think we could manage it one day.
Yeah.
But then do you want to announce what we're doing? What the next series we're doing is, or do you want to wait till the movie?
I think we should wait till the movie because I don't remember off the top of my head what we're doing. I know it's something I think we've both seen or partially seen.
I've seen the whole thing.
We know it's okay.
Yes. I know what it is off the top of my head because thinking about it still makes me happy.
Okay. Oh dear. Let's give you a moment.
We can wait.
Okay, cool.
But I think that's all of it for tonight.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone, for coming out and watching us review the last episode of Lost in Space, the Netflix original series, Season 1.
Happy. Season 1. We know there's a Season 2.
We know there's a Season 2.
Oh, boy.
It can go into the archive of things that you probably could avoid watching if you wanted to.
If you've got nothing better to do, and I mean nothing better to do.
If you're playing Final Fantasy XIV and running dungeons for the day just for tomestones, someone out there is going to understand that. It's a great show. Watch it. Have fun.
Yep. But otherwise, pick up a different series. But yes. Okay, so I guess that's the end then. Where do we... I'm going to flip the tables. Where do we find you, Drew?
Oh, you find me on... Let's see, Twitter at NotThatDrew. You find me every other Monday on Taking Initiative. You find me here every Thursday streaming Moonlighter, and every Friday on Couch for It.
Hey.
And currently, that's all you can find me on. I guess you could technically find me on Instagram at NotThatDrew, but I don't post that often, so it's kind of just a letdown.
God damn it. I'm trying to be like really flash and do all the commands, but I forgot what they're called.
Hey, look, there's some stuff that we have. But Valanda, where can we find you?
You can find me on Twitter at blood_BTP. You can find me on the podcast, The Lucky Die, where I am the DM, and that comes out every single Monday. And there is some heavy shit going down. We may be having a boss fight this week or next week. I don't actually remember, but it's fucking awesome. I'm so excited for everybody to hear it. Other than that, I don't think we're doing Wreck and Reown tomorrow, but we might be. I don't really know.
I think we'll are, because I'm supposed to be there.
Oh, in that case, you will find us both here tomorrow on Wreck and Reown, which is run by our good friend Casey, who's also part of TLD.
So if it's not tomorrow, she needs to let me know.
Oh yeah. It depends how long recording goes, but we'll figure something out. I think that's probably it for me for the week. Other than, no, I'm gonna say that's it because I don't remember what I have coming up. I just know I'm super busy. And obviously here for Couch Fit on a Friday, where also on a Friday we re-release this episode like a week behind, right?
Yeah, yes. Next Friday, this episode will go up on the podcast feed while we do the movie, and the movie will go up the same day we start our next series. Yes,
I am so excited. I think I might remember what it is now.
Also, so dumb. We'll talk about that later. That's one of the macros is weird, and I don't know how to fix it.
Okay.
You can also find us on the Discord. We're both on there and fairly active.
Yep.
I'm on there literally 24/7 unless I'm asleep.
Yep. I'm around. I see things. I see all. But yeah, we're pretty good for all this stuff. So I guess that's wrapping up. I think we've babbled quite long enough.
I think so. The longest episode we've had so far, but it works.
Yeah. It works.
Thank you for coming out again. We will see you all next Friday and at some point in the near future on various other shows. Yes. Bye, everybody.
Bye. This is so well run.